I'm Kevin Davis. This is the Catholic Family Podcast, and happy All Saints Day to everyone out there. Hope you all enjoyed the feast or are enjoying it. I know Dominic is having a party, I guess, as we speak. So the
They're
party
all
members are at his
on
house
there.
outside while he's having a podcast. So we appreciate Dominic taking the time to skip his own party to be here for our podcast. And it's the first. I think it's the first time we've ever done it with four Davis brothers. Now we are missing two Davis brothers. Brother Simon, who is a religious in Idaho. Yeah, I mean, he hasn't quite finished his vocational path yet, and same with William, who's also in the seminary in Omaha. So they're also kind of busy, kind of hard to get on a podcast. So maybe we'll get them on again sometime to get all six of us together, which would be pretty cool. But it's nice to have you guys here. I appreciate it. I know everyone having their busy days, busy weekends. Paul driving around, Father doing priestly stuff. We appreciate everyone being here to talk about kind of our different paths, to where we are, what we do for work, what our vocations are. Obviously, Father as a priest. It just kind of struck me sometime. I don't know. I was thinking about it, like what topics to talk about with you guys. I wanted to do a show with my brothers. And it's like, what's interesting is that Paul is highly educated, was in the military. Father's religious. Dominic is a hand worker. I'm a something. But it was good. Ina said before, say Kevin is a creative, and it's like, well, I'll have a lot to say about that because it actually is a creative freelancer, and I'll have plenty to comment on that path. So we'll bear with me. We'll get to that, but we're gonna go kind of oldest to youngest here. So we'll start with Paul, and Paul's been on the show a couple times, so maybe some of you guys know a bit of his background. But Paul, maybe you could kind of tell us what you're doing now, and you have a really interesting past 10 years or so. So maybe if you want to just kind of tell us kind of what you've done in that time, and then we'll talk a bit about your experience kind of being highly educated and being in the military. But maybe just say what you're doing now and how you got there.
Sure, yeah. So right now I'm a senior global product manager in the medical device space. So I'm in urology currently. Before this role, I was with Boston Scientific in the interventional cardiology space, doing some similar work. Also did some product management, project management, and operation type stuff. So that was going back to 2018. And the 9 years before that, I was a captain, or got to a captain in the Marine Corps. Did a number of deployments, traveled all over the world, had some really cool roles, some fun roles. And throughout that time, or during that time, the last 2 years of my Marine Corps career, got an MBA from University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And then prior to that, some more college education, double major, business, entrepreneurship. And prior to that, I was in construction and a farmhand, and then
The good old days.
Washing dishes even before that. So
no, that is really interesting, and so again, you being one of the four of us with the high education. So you have an MBA. So obviously you've spent a lot of time in college, at universities. So I mean, I guess what is your experience there? I mean, is that an overall good? Is it all good? I mean, what are kind of the pros and cons that you've had with? I mean, how many years is that? Is that's 6 years in college? More?
yeah, I mean, about maybe a little more. But yeah, I mean, I honestly really good, really positive. It's definitely opened up some doors. It's made my ceiling, I guess, higher for at least what I wanted to do with my career. And then I was able, through scholarships and the GI Bill and other means, to not. I actually got paid to go to school, so I never paid a single dollar in student fees or anything like that. So yeah, I mean, all in all, I would definitely say, for at least for the path that I wanted to do, it was definitely a net good.
Yeah, and that's interesting. I mean, and I think that's a really interesting point that you didn't have to pay for it, because that's oftentimes what comes to me in America, especially, like that's the issue. Kind of like if you got to get $80,000 in debt, it's like, oh, okay, is that worth it? But So how did you do that? I mean, how did you manage? I mean, obviously, once you joined the Marines, that helped pay for some of it, but you were getting scholarships before. So I mean, maybe you want to just real quickly talk about how, like, literally how you do that. You know, someone right now wants to get educated. You know, say they're in high school, they're like, hey, I want to go to college, but I don't want to pay the money. Now, not everyone's going to find the same scholarships you did, obviously, but like, what was the route? Like, what was what are some tips, I guess, of how you went about doing that?
I just aggressively looked for them and applied. And, with essays and with grades and extracurricular activities, they all add up. So if you're sort of skating by to begin with, scholarships are going to be harder for
Mm-hmm.
anyone. But if you've developed a habit of doing more than is necessary and going above and beyond and volunteering and things like that, then it just matters. Just applying goes a long ways. So
Yeah.
didn't get plenty of them that I didn't get, but yeah, the ones that I did were great.
So I guess last question before we move on. I mean, and again, if anyone in the comment section has questions about this, please let us know as we go. If you want to ask Paul something about Marine Corps, about his education, etc. But I guess my question would be, and obviously, Paul, I've known you my whole life, and I remember you as a kid being ambitious. Do you think is that a personality trait? Is that something that you think are you born with it? I mean, this is kind of a hard question, but I mean, like let's just say for yourself, do you think like you were born with that drive to want to really achieve and really be successful, or do you think that's something that anyone can find, anyone can like dig deep and find within themselves? Do you think that's singular, or what's your opinion on that?
Good question. I mean, it's like the nature versus nurture type of question, I guess.
Yeah.
And everyone, I think people are born differently, right, with different personality traits and things that you're naturally good at or naturally bad at. But I think there are certain things that you can always develop. Kindness, empathy, ambition, work ethic. Those are things that no matter how you're born, I think you can develop those into something that becomes a strength for you, for anyone. And for me, it's achieving things is what brings me a lot of happiness. The sense of satisfaction of setting out to do something hard and accomplishing it just makes me really, really happy. So um, that's part of what drives me, I suppose.
Interesting. Father Dominic, you guys have any comments, questions for
Yeah,
Paul
I
before?
as far as the what you're just talking about, I can give an example of nature versus nurture. On the nurture side, that I worked for 5 years with two guys that both came from electrician families, and one guy, his family was really successful and they were totally go-getters, and it was just part of their culture to succeed. And the other guy came from just they called him the brown shuffler. He just kind of walks real slow, and I guess his entire family is like known for that in the area, that the nurture side of having a culture that provides you the ability to have that ambition and the satisfaction from the work that comes top down. I think is maybe not as important, or I shouldn't say as important, as impactful as someone's natural gift of ambition, but I think that's 100% part of it. That kind of who you surround yourself with and the type of culture that you're part of.
Well, and the ability too to break molds. It's like you might be born into a culture that is not ambitious, but whatever you want to call it, some might say grace. To see that, okay, I don't have to be a victim to this culture. I don't have to follow the path that is sort of laid out for you. I can break the mold and I can be ambitious and accomplish great things regardless. And I was just one more thought about personality too, where it's just like, yeah, there are definitely temperaments that are born with a little bit more drive, a little bit more of that ambition to do things. But one great example I think of is Saint Thomas Aquinas. By all accounts, his biographers called him a phlegmatic. He was a very slow, physically slow person, even heavy set. They think that he had that sort of temperament, was very, very soft spoken, but accomplished so much with his life. It was incredible. I mean, the work that he put in was remarkable, and it was, regardless of that sort of phlegmatic temperament that he had. So, that drive is an important thing. Real quick, this is a phrase that they have at Mount St. Michael, and I think Father Anaya is the one that kind of coined this, and it's really good. He says, so the teacher or will say, attitude is and then the kids say choice. And then we typically follow that up with a good attitude is a good choice. And I think that's really, really important thing to understand, is that attitude is a choice,
Yeah.
So no matter what your background, no matter what your temperament, you can choose to do something with your life. But anyway, kind of going off on a tangent here. So
No, but it's really, I mean, I appreciate it. And that was part of my idea for the podcast again, is that I think we're all at least relatively successful. We're the question, what is success, I suppose, but I think that's the interesting thing, that, if you have different personality, if you have, same upbringing, but I mean, you can, the most important thing is, yeah, exactly, to choose to move forward. And that's something that I think Paul, I really respected with Paul, and it's something that I really struggled with early on, was I was not decisive, that I was too phlegmatic. I was too like in the wind, kind of like, yeah, it'll come to me. It's gonna get there eventually. And that's something that I really regret. And that's, so going from Paul, the highly educated one, you go to me, and I just kind of wandered around for a long time, kind of waiting for the universe to give me a something in my lap, unfortunately. And eventually I went to school, like a 1-year certifying school to be a broadcaster, which is, so I guess, again, you call me the freelancer, the what did she call me? She called me the artist, that was pretty hurtful, honestly. But it was like, it's like,
hey, that's wrong with that.
You seen Kevin stick figures.
Yeah, I know exactly. Not an actual artist, yeah, but and it's an interesting point, and I think it's true that, like, my skills and whatnot are certainly different than Paul's. But I think that if I would give advice, from my own experience, to be decisive in making practical decisions in your life. Like a lot of my failures was because I was really determined to do what I wanted to do. Like, I really wanted to love my job. I really wanted to be a sports broadcaster. You actually get into it and you see how unlikely it is to be Dave or Joe Buck and these guys who do it for millions of dollars. Maybe you could, but then even if you do get it, it's not a very good job for a family. You're traveling all around. So anyway, long story short, in the end, my artist career actually turned into a hobby. And that's what I'm doing now. And so in a way, it's good. The skills I have turned into a Catholic Family Podcast, which I think is a good thing. And I mean, you guys are watching, so you must like it too. But I guess, my lesson learned is to not be so in the clouds. And I think that's something, again, to kind of, as Father said, the decisions you make, really think about why are you making the decisions? Like really be kind of focused and practical. Like, am I actually going to have a job like this? And I think that you see it a lot in the world. I've had friends, good guys, they go to college, and I'm like, okay, what are you going for? I'm going to be a historian. I'm learning about French politics in the 18th century or whatever. And it's like, that sounds good, and then they never actually find a career with it, because there's not a whole lot of practicality there. So from my own experience, I guess that's what I've learned. That was my failures. But what I have now is I've kind of learned that you can have a really good life if you just work. Find a job, stay in the job, work the job. I worked. I got a job at a grocery store because it was right after COVID, and couldn't find anything else. So I got a job And just because I was polite, showed up on time, I became a manager, I think 4 months later. So it's kind of like Paul said, I mean, eventually it's actually not that complicated. And I think, again,
Well, if I
go ahead. Yeah.
No, I could just add to that. I mean, most of my work is with children, young adults. I teach in high school all day, and that's a big part of my work. And so, dealing with these, especially seniors that are about to go out into the workforce, they're trying to figure out their vocation. It's a big question, and a lot of time they're coming to me or to the priest to say, "Father," and this is a question you get all the time, "Father, how do I know what's the right path?" And the answer I think that you have to give is you don't, but you got to choose one. It's like you can never know with certainty, but I mean, hey, God expects you to work. If you're trying to do the right thing and you're not sitting on your hands, then it's going to work out. So I think that's an important thing. It's like, okay, yeah, don't be precipitous and jump into something that's going to get you $100,000 into debt and have nothing to show for it. But also, don't wait around to some sort of, whispering in the wind or some signed letter to tell you what to do. You just got to, put your mind to it and do something. So I just adding to that.
I tell you what, too, you have maybe 5% of the workforce that's actually willing to, put their nose to the ground, or at least in my profession. And man, that 5% rises to the top immediately. So literally just the willingness to work hard, which I think in our generation it's not there as much as it should be, but just that willingness, man, that sets you so far ahead.
Yeah, and I think I'll ask Paul this, and then I'll ask Father. I mean, Paul, obviously you worked with young men in the Marines, so you were their leader. Obviously you're trying to get the best out of them. I mean, how did you do that? I mean, do you have the time, the ability to go and individually, learn each soldier? Like, okay, this guy's, he's a phlegmatic, so I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Or are you just kind of like, hey, here's the basic ground rules of how you need to be successful, and this is how I'm going to lead you? I mean, is it kind of more of a general thing, or were you more, getting to know them and kind of giving them individual advice?
So, I mean, a little bit of both, and they're not soldiers, they're Marines. So I will correct you on that.
Sorry.
No, all good. So yeah, no, I was good at it. So I did get to know my guys and gals, my Marines. But one of the common threads, I suppose, to get the best out of them is to set very high but still achievable standards, and then develop an environment where they feel proud when they achieve those. And when they don't, it's more about letting their team down, and that is what pushes them to excel. So there's a lot you can put into that, right? There's 100 different things that go into that and 100 things that come out of it. But at the core, that was one of the best ways for me to get the most out of my Marines.
Interesting. And Father, I guess same question for you. I mean, you're leading slightly younger men, but I mean, basically it's the same. I mean, are you trying to individually direct them? Are you, or do you have, like Paul? You kind of have both, but you also have kind of like, okay, you're gonna give them basic advice. Maybe it's setting high standards, whatnot.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's there's only so much time in the day. There's only so much ability you have to connect with every single one. But I mean, you try to learn them, learn as well as you can, learn how you can lift them up. And there are some fundamental things that are true for everybody. The try to encourage them to want, like Paul said, to set a bar high, and show them how awesome it is to accomplish something, and encourage them in that way, and encourage team spirit too. That's, I'm sure, in a completely different setting, such as a Catholic high school, as it is from the Marine Corps, but the principles are probably the same. That you've got you've got a team mentality, and if everyone's scared of letting the team down, that's a good sort of peer pressure. And then of course the idea of furthering the group too. That is an awesome goal. And so yeah, no, I would say it's actually much the same. You try to set those things for everybody. Learn. You also try to look for the boys and girls that need more help. You can kind of see who's struggling. I need to focus a little more time on that person, obviously. And just keep your eyes open.
Interesting. Okay, Father, before we get to, I'm going to ask you about your story real quick, but I got another question. And Dominic, do you have anything to add to that? Sorry, I don't want to leave you out.
I don't have much else that I could add to that. Same principles, working with, first year, second year apprentices, that you're setting goals and they don't make them, then you're hurting the whole team. So same exact thing that I deal with, but just on a much smaller scale.
Interesting. Yeah, actually, I'll save the question for the end when we talk about advice to any young people watching. But Father, maybe we'll go to you next then, and maybe you can briefly describe how you became a priest, and I guess your last 10, 12 years. We're all getting old. That's the crazy thing, boys. I think like 5 years.
We were just talking. 10 years. We were talking right before.
No gray yet either. Yeah. Yet.
We look. Well, I got mine. I got mine all cut off. So
can't tell what Father.
It was coming off pretty gray, but
no, we were all talking just before he started. It's like, man, got this health issue and that. My neck hurts, and got gallstones. Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, right.
Come on, guys.
Old guy. Yeah. So my path to the priesthood was pretty uneventful, you might say. That. So I went to boarding school in Omaha for high school. I went my 10th grade year and was there with the bishop, and was hugely influenced by the seminarians and the priests, because at the time the priests and seminarians, we lived on the same campus as the border boys, and so we interacted a lot. And that had a huge part in it. And then also that sort of team mentality, it's like those of us who were in school together, there's 4 of us at least that are priests that went to school together during that same time. So had, similar goals. So I did graduate high school. After high school, I went and lived with our grandparents for a little while, as our grandfather was declining from dementia. So tried to help out there for, I think it got on 2 years. And then after that, went back to Omaha and was actually had things started out. I was signed up to be starting a cooking program at Regis University in Denver. So I was going to become a chef, and I was fine with that. I always enjoyed cooking, and it's something I could see myself doing well. But though I was signed up for that, just didn't seem to fit the bill for some reason. So I wasn't real sure, but I was ready to go through with it. But then had a long sit down talk with the bishop, and we went through everything, and he's like, okay, so all this stuff together, I think that you should join the seminary. It's like, okay. I mean, I've got a job and bills, and I'm going to go to college. And he's like, yeah, well, I think you should be here on Tuesday. Like, yeah, but I've got a job and bills and college. And like, okay. But he's like, yeah, but you know what? I don't think that you should put it off. I think that you should, it's like, if you're going to do, if you agree, you don't have to, but if you agree, I think you should do it right away. Don't do anything by half measures. And I was like, fair enough. So, I was there on Tuesday. And yeah, and then, went through the seminary, was in the seminary for 6.5 years, was ordained a priest in 2018 in May, and was assigned first to Omaha. Then I was for a short time in Minnesota. So I was in Minnesota when Paul and Nicole and family moved up there, and it was a pretty sweet deal. It was yeah, it was very exciting. Because I was a very young priest. I was actually a priest only a year, and was given basically a pastor's assignment, which was pretty interesting. So, I was grateful to the bishop for that. But unfortunately, over in the Pacific Northwest, I don't remember exactly what the circumstances were, but there was a great need. And so the bishop reassigned me to Idaho, and they'd started covering Minnesota from Omaha, I think, at that point. But so I went to Idaho and was the vice rector at the minor seminary, so St. Joseph Minor Seminary in Rathdrum, Idaho. Was there for that was going on 4 years, I think 3.5, 4 years. We weathered COVID over there at the minor seminary, which was pretty interesting because we basically didn't even know anything was going on. We had our own little world over there in Idaho. And then from Idaho, there was another, well, not so much a vacancy at Mount St. Michael, but Idaho's a great place for young priests to go to be assistant. So I went to Mount St. Michael, where I have been for, this is my 4th year at Mount St. Michael. So 4th school year, that is. So been the dean of discipline at Mount St. Michael, so-called dean of discipline, and teach there in the high school, and have missions. In fact, I'm in Boise, Idaho right now, which is a mission I do every other week. So I'll go to Boise and Lewiston, Idaho, just a big circle, pretty much about 1,000 miles, and be ready to go for school on Monday morning, God willing. But so that's where I am now. That's this nice picture behind me. I'm in a hotel room, so down here.
Too bad you don't get
Boise.
frequent flyer driver miles.
Yeah, that's so true.
I know, right?
I get like
no,
stay at the hotel for free.
No, I know. No, just racking up the odometer. That's pretty shit. So, yeah.
So, Father, the one thing in your story, when you sat down with the bishop, why did you sit down with the bishop? Was that like something you wanted to talk to him about, a possible vocation, or he thought you might be? Because that's the one part I didn't quite understand. Because you thought you might have a vocation when you were going to cooking school, or no?
I actually thought I had a vocation back in high school to the priesthood. And I don't know, it just kind of fizzled. Like I'm not sure why I didn't jump on that after high school, but I didn't. Had a couple different jobs. I had a job at Bed Bath and Beyond when it was with Grandma and Granddad in Aurora. Then I worked at the hospital for a little bit when I came back to Omaha. And I was like, it took me a little bit to figure out, because I knew that I'm not going to have these little odd jobs my whole life. I've got to have a career. So that's why I signed up to go to cooking school. And it seemed like everything. In fact, at the time I had a girlfriend that I liked a whole lot. She was a good Catholic girl, and seemed like things were going real well. And I guess that's just a real spiritual thing. I couldn't really explain it, but I was just really unhappy, and I couldn't tell you why. I just it was hard to describe. It's just as everything should be perfectly fine in my life. I should be really excited to be moving forward, but for some reason I was really dreading going to cooking school, and just kind of went to the bishop and poured my heart out to him, and he's just like, maybe this is the solution. I'm not saying that it is, but maybe it is. And so, it was. And so ever since then, seminary years are very trying, etc. But I think I knew that there was a piece there. I did realize that this was what I was supposed to do. So,
and I guess the question I have for you, Father, is that if someone's thinking, I think a lot of people think to be a priest, you need to be I don't know, you need to be St. John Bosco. You need to be like a really holy person. Like you're born, like you read into the lives of the saints sometimes, right? Alvin Butler, they were born in the in the essence of holiness or something like that. It's kind of like, okay, that's nice for them. But it's kind of like, oh boy, I don't think that doesn't sound like my childhood.
Well,
I'm not. No
I was going to say, are you saying I wasn't born
like
in the
I
essence of holiness?
Mom and Dad was meant against me, not against you. I promise.
I remember a Jonathan Davis who punched people in the face pretty regularly.
I think I've been like 3 or
That
4
wasn't
times.
regular. It was mostly Dominic.
Semi-regular.
No, it was mostly
3 or 4
Dominic.
times in my memory for sure.
And he punched me also. But no, I was gonna say we could.
I got it. We too.
Yeah. Kevin's one. Yeah, I clocked you pretty good. Yeah. That was the Star Wars incident. But anyway.
Oh, man. But that's
stories we can talk about, but
exactly. So an very imperfect person can still can find that route to the religious life. Do you want to comment on that, I guess?
Well, yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. Yeah, of course, priests and religious are still very much people, and there's no doubt about that. And I worry too that some people have the impression that it's almost like a cop out to become a religious. Like you're only going to do that if you don't have anything better to do with your life, which is really sad because that is not the case at all. God, he calls people not that I am worthy, not that any priest or religious is particularly worthy, but you need to have the qualifications, back to what our original discussion kind of was. You at least need to have the desire to work really hard. Because I know many priests and religious who are not perhaps the most gifted intellectually, they, at least academically, but are able to do a lot of good because they're just willing to better themselves all the time. And it's sort of a principle. You can't give something that you don't have. So if you're bettering yourself, if you're becoming more holy, then you can pass that on. But yeah, no, it doesn't take any great genius. It doesn't take somebody, and in fact, to pursue a religious vocation, you shouldn't stop at the concept that you have to be holy. You are going to become holy. You're going to dedicate your life to doing that. But yeah, you could be a very flawed person, so long as you're not like a, sociopath or something that's much more alarming. But no, you can be a normal person. You can overcome those faults and failings, and that's what that's what you're going to set yourself to do.
So when was the last time you punched someone in the face?
Oh boy.
Last Thursday.
Never mind.
Luckily, it has been a while. So Dominic's patron saint there on his shirt I saw.
Oh, yep.
He said heretics should be beaten with fists, by the way. So punching isn't necessarily wrong. It depends on the circumstances.
I think I know the last person you punched, but I'll save that.
I might too.
Save that for the after show.
Paul or Dominic, either of you guys have any questions for Father before we move to Dominic?
No,
not really.
Nailed it.
No, I think
nice. Yeah.
His comments on being holy as a religious should apply to everybody. That I think that's my one comment. That you're as a religious, that's your main goal, and that's what your life is set up to provide you to become the pinnacle of holiness, whatever. But that same the same thing applies to everybody. That shouldn't just stop at wanting to be holy, but actually do it.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Dominic, part of your story actually was part of it was being a religious. So maybe you want to tell your story and your interesting path to becoming a electrician.
Saving the least for last. My first fifth of my story follows Father's very closely. So actually, I was in the seminary before Father was in the seminary for, I think,
Brother
6
Pius.
months. I was Brother Pius at the time. Yep, St. Pius X. Repping it on Feast of all the Holy Saints. But yeah, same thing. I went through boarding school, and same comments Father had. Being close with the religious, close with the priests was hugely beneficial to my upbringing. And when I was I think I was just turned 17, I was a senior and went to the bishop and was like, "Hey, Your Excellency, what do you think about me, joining the seminary?" And the bishop's like, "Okay." And then about a month went by, and it's like, man, my classes, I have like no classes. I'm bored. So basically went up to him again. I was like, "Hey, Your Excellency, what do you think about me, cutting half my school year off and joining in December?" It's like, "Sure, sounds good. Do it." Not a whole lot more said. And it's like, okay. So graduated half year early, which I'll comment on that in a bit, but went straight into the seminary on the same campus. And that was a hard transition for me because, you're, as a border boy, you're one of the boys, and then you're a seminarian, and you're still eating in the same place and around the same people. It was a hard transition. But so I went into the religious seminary and became Brother Pius after about 6 months after St. Pius X, who was the best. But shortly after that, I was the main cook in Omaha, and I started getting sick and got real sick and got real sick. And then finally the bishop kind of had a talk with the bishop, and it's like, "Hey, what should I do? What do you think we should do?" It's like, "Okay, well, let's take a little break." Like I went home at that point. My parents were in Las Vegas, I think, at that time, and they're living in Vegas. So it took about 2-3 months off, and then went back. And when I went back, I was a secular seminarian. So dropped the Brother Pius and went into study as a secular seminarian. And then about, I think, a full year went by, and then got sick again. And it's like, okay, I think God's telling me something. Maybe I should. He's doing one of those things with his thumb. It's like, nope, you should be over here, or you shouldn't be here. You should be there. And shortly after that, went back home. And then it's like, okay, I legitimately thought I had a vocation at the time, and ended up talking with Father Benedict up in Idaho, and went up there for about 3 months to see if the different location might help the health stuff. And about 3 months went by, and it's just like, nope, this isn't what God wants me to do. Still having health issues. And at that point, it's like, okay, this is definitely God's will that I be elsewhere. So went back home, and then was working at the same job, same hospital that Father Philip did for probably 6 months. And then at that time, I started talking with Monica Fries, who is currently Monica Davis, and had kind of a bit of a, not really a heart-to-heart, but a fist to the face when she basically said, "Yeah, I don't really think we should be talking at all unless you have any sort of career goals." I was like, "Oh!" So I was basically living out of my car, working a dead-end job. It's like, yep, you're probably pretty right about that. And I was kind of a bum at the time. And yeah, so I think a month later went to Denver and was living with my Aunt Linda, and Omar Medina, who pretty much he's part of the family. He's a family to us. He had just started as an electrician. It was kind of pushing me to do that and to get into the trades. And at the time, I was working as a part-time DJ with Kevin, doing the trivia. Remember that? That was not a great gig, but basically went from
DJ
doing
yeah.
just garbage work for pennies, and then finally just like, okay, I got to do something. Got to look 4 years, 5 years, 6 years down the line, and got into an electrical apprenticeship, which was so easy. Literally just applied for 3 or 4 jobs as a first year, got hired, and they're like, okay, here's when you start your school. It's all paid for. And about 9 years later, I'm an electrician, journeyman, foreman, kind of project manager, or have been project manager, but moved from a very large company to a smaller company to now a company of like 3 people that we're building for me to basically take over in the next 5-6 years. So that's kind of my short life story. But and in those
And so do you
9 years, I also got married to Monica, who's the best thing that's ever happened to me. She's kind of shaped me to be who I am, and couldn't say
punches you in the face.
anything bad.
Well, father can't punch you in the face anymore.
Punch me in
so
the
it's good
face.
that you have a wife to at least
I got a wife that'll do it. To crack
not
the whip.
literally,
Nope.
maybe is that metaphorically punch you in the face? I don't know. Anyway, no, that's interesting, Dominic. So Dominic, is there any what do you feel about your work? I mean, do you like it? Do you think it's a good path?
I
do.
It's
something.
I mean,
go ahead.
Yeah, I'd say it's very rewarding. Like a lot of the time, especially I really enjoy the service side of things. So fixing problems. You go into a house that their heater's not working and half their house is down. It's like, okay, I want to help you. Like this is my time to shine. I'm going to do this so that you can have power. And by the time you leave, you have that sense of accomplishment. It's like, yes, fixed it, and on to the next one. But in my mind, there's a lot of trades out there that are really good, really, they're necessary and good lines to be able to support a family. But as an electrician, being the king of the trades, we are the kings, that it is a really good profession that pays very well. It has a ton of different outlets that you can be fire alarm, you can be project manager on large jobs, you can be a small hometown electrician. And there's 1,000 different avenues that you can take with it. And for the most part, they pay well enough to support a family.
And so I'll ask you this, Dominic, and then I'll ask the other two as well afterwards. What do you think skills are necessary to be, let's say, an electrician, a tradesman? I mean, because I think that obviously not everyone has those skills. I don't know. I guess that's the question. Do you need to have particular skills to be an electrician? You just need to work hard.
Literally, I think there are some people that are mechanically blind that, like, literally they can't. They don't have the brain to be able to twist a screwdriver the right direction, sort of deal like that. That exists on a very small level. But I think all you got to be able to do is show up on time and be willing to work hard. It's like literally that's it. And yeah, as an electrician, you do need a little bit of brains, but you can also be an electrician just as an installer. Like you're working at a new construction, the Google power plant, whatever, and you're making $50 an hour putting up pipe that doesn't take a 4th grade knowledge to do. So it's for myself, it's kind of like as long as you're willing to work hard, I say you're golden. And I kind of alluded to that earlier when we were talking about 5% of people, maybe 10%. So 1 out of every 10 people that I've worked with are actual go-getters and willing to, okay, what's the next task? What am I doing next? Sort of deal. And man, they rise to the top so fast, regardless of how smart they are. So it's a big deal to be able to just, put your nose to the ground and run.
So how about the trades though? I had somebody come to me recently. They're working to become a plumber, and they're saying that they're having a hard time dealing with just the toxicity of the environment. Like these guys are nasty and foul, and you've got to put up some serious barriers.
That's something that has set me back in the past. I literally speak a different language than these people. So my vernacular is, as our mother raised us to be, fairly well spoken, no gutter trash language. And because I use different words than other people, then it's kind of ostracized me a bit. And I think kind of to a certain degree in a good way, because I know William was talking that he wanted to come on a podcast with you, Kevin, talking about the importance of how your work relationships affect your life. He was telling me that earlier. I was like, that's a pretty big deal. If you're around these people all day, and yes, a lot of them are garbage. There's a lot of, Paul, as well as anybody in the construction industry, you got some bad eggs, and it's out there in every industry, but I think a lot of that does fall to the blue collar. But you really have to separate yourself from that and just come in with mentality. It's like, man, I'm not like that. That's not how I'm going to be, and that's not my true life. Is at my home with my kids, on church with my friends, and the work relationships are professional, but that's about it.
I kind of, if you don't mind me, Kevin, following up with Paul that way, like what is your experience in the higher levels of academia, in a college educated ethos? Because I'm having people that come to me too that say, okay, they're in college or university, and they're having a hard time with the intellectual blasphemy, if you will. It's just like they're very liberal campuses, and these people that just are not putting two and two together with whatever the area may be, whether if it's philosophical issues or even political issues. They are describing to me that it's a really hard environment to be in and not be affected by it, at least in some way. Did you ever find that in your spheres?
Not really. I mean, to be honest, I suppose you can find that anywhere, right? Construction, college, your local gym, whatever. But I mean, honestly, I didn't really experience any of that. And what's been good is, going back to what Dominic said. So the construction industry is definitely more full of people with their different priorities or foul mouths or whatever you call it. But
just dirty. Yeah.
Yeah. And not to say everyone is, obviously, but the work that I've been doing now, there really isn't any of that. So it's nice that I don't really have to deal with that anymore.
Well, you say that you can find that anywhere. I was shocked, Dominic. I don't remember what your experience was there at Emmanuel Hospital in Omaha.
Goodness. Oh,
I was
these old ladies that are just
that was the thing. And so I was one young guy. There was a couple of the other Catholics there, and it was a whole bunch of old ladies because we were working in the cafeteria in the hospital. And it's just like, oh, that's awesome. Hey, I'm not going to be around like teenagers. Don't have to worry about, that. Whoa. Blew my mind. These old ladies didn't have clean mouths. Woof.
Yeah. I came out, 3 years or 2.5
touch
years.
a book.
Right. 2.5 years out of the seminary, and I go to these Emmanuel Hospital. It's Catholic hospital.
The Catholic hospital, quote
unquote.
Right.
Old ladies, and then about weekend, I'm like, what on earth? What is going on?
My advantage is I work with a bunch of Ukrainians. I don't understand anything that they say, so it's actually it's win-win. Yep, I don't get any of that.
Obviously, my
and I'm a manager, so I could just tell them that, hey, knock it off type of a thing. But Yeah, usually it's not a problem because I don't understand anything that they're saying.
Right.
No,
Well,
interesting.
see, I get.
Thing with, I was just going to say, being in a leadership position and being able to do that is awesome. Like being basically,
I was gonna say,
you got like a group of guys that are just standing around talking crap. It's like, hey guys, get back to work. Come on, stop.
See, I go and correct people if they say crap, Dominic. So
yeah. Different levels, I guess.
but
No, that's good. So no, it's good to hear everyone's stories, and I'd love everyone in the comment section if you have any questions to get them in now. I think we'll start wrapping this up in the next 10 minutes, and I think the question I most want to ask, and I guess we'll start with Paul again, is if there's someone listening to this, male, female, who are say in high school or 20 years old, not sure what they should do. I mean, what is your general advice, first of all? Just like generally, just give me some basics, like what do you think they should do just as a person, kind of a thing, like keep your feet moving. And secondly, what is your advice for someone who is pretty sure they want a higher education, or if they want to join the military?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to give any single advice to everybody, but I mean, I'd say if you should never settle for just doing the minimum. So if you're always doing more than what you have to, if you're always, here's one piece of advice. I'd say volunteer for so many things. If there's extra credit as a student, do it. If there's the ability to help, at church on Saturday to clean something up, volunteer and do it. Volunteering has led me to so many opportunities. One of which being the nonprofit that I run now. I volunteered for that.
Ask about that if you wanted to throw in something about that nonprofit, which is awesome.
Yeah. So I run a veteran nonprofit called Project Got Your Back, and got into it by volunteering. Spent a bunch of time just helping out, pro bono type stuff, and it led to one thing to the next. And I'm the executive director now, and salaried position, and it's opened up so many doors. So I'd say if there's one simple thing that almost anyone can do, it's just volunteer for stuff, even if it's small type stuff. And then the other analogy I'd give is, I think you guys have both, or maybe actually all three of you have alluded to it already, but it's like a good running back in football. They always have their feet moving, and maybe it's moving to the side, maybe it's moving forward, maybe it's stuttering in place, waiting for the opportunity to rush forward. But a good running back always has their feet moving. And if you apply that to your life, just always have your feet moving toward something. And maybe you change direction. Maybe you get blocked. Maybe you get tackled, but just keep having your feet moving toward your goals.
Nice. And how about specifically then for someone who might want a higher education, and maybe give me like an actual, what should you do? So I'm Tommy, and I'm 18. I'm about to graduate high school, and I literally don't know what I need to do to get into college. I don't, what I mean? Like I think I want to get educated, but I don't know what to do. What should they do?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you got access to Google, there's a lot you can learn just by doing some simple research. The other thing is literally just talk to guidance counselors. There's people who get paid to give you advice on this kind of thing. They can tell you what kind of forms you need, how to set up student loans if you need student loans, how to apply for scholarships if you need to apply for scholarships. But I'd say the worst thing you can do is try to make all of those decisions by yourself. Find people to help you, find people who have done it, ask for their experience and ask for their advice. And it's amazing how many people that's kind of what my entire nonprofit is based around. It's just amazing how many people are willing and want to help if you just ask for it. So just ask for it. Find someone who's done something that you want to do, and just say, hey, can we sit down for a coffee? And I just want to hear how you did it. Do you have any advice? Do you have other people you can connect me with? And that kind of mentality, or just doing that, it's remarkably effective. And it's amazing how many people don't do it. And maybe it's because they're afraid of rejection, or maybe this person won't like these questions I ask. It's nonsense. This nonsense. That very few people are going to take issue with you asking for their advice.
They're usually flattered, right? That's a
Yeah.
really good point. And I can tell you, I've been someone in the past who did not do that, did not ask those questions. But if someone asks me now, every now and then it happens, it's like I feel really good about it. Exactly as you say. I'm not like, hey, go away, don't bother me. It's like, well, you want me to, my advice? You want me to? It's really cool. And that's a really good point. That's a great point. So last one for you, Paul. Then, I mean, what about, do you recommend someone who might be interested in joining the military? Obviously, the Marine Corps, of course, would be the way to go. Is that something you would recommend? And if so, I guess, who do you recommend it for? I mean, who does that person need to be a Marine or military member?
Yeah, so I've had the opportunity to help mentor quite a few young people with that same question, and I would not recommend it for everyone. Absolutely not. It's not something that's like, well, if you don't join the military, you're missing out, because it's not for everyone. However, I will tell you that it worked great for me. I loved it. It comes down to a deeper meaning, I guess. You got to know why you're doing it. So for the people who just do it for the GI Bill is pretty sweet, not going to lie, but that's not the best reason to join the military. So it's wanting to give back. It's wanting to act on your sense of patriotism, not just talk about your sense of patriotism. And for me, the biggest thing was challenging myself. I really, really, really wanted to, still do, challenge myself. So for me, joining the Marine Corps was one of the best ways to do that and get to lead Marines. So that's what it was for me, but not to say that's the same thing for everybody else.
All right, who's going to break it? All right, we lost him.
No, well said. Okay, so Father, did you lose me?
Yeah, I lost you
back.
for a second. It was an awkward silence.
Connection.
It's very awkward silence.
Yeah, very awkward. Did my face look good at least when I froze? Please tell me it looked good when I froze. Father, I'll ask you the same basic question. I mean, maybe just a general advice for young people. I'm sure you get this question all the time. So, I mean, kind of what should they be doing? Moving their feet forward again, something like that. And then also, what about someone who might be interested, to have a slight inclination, maybe I should, be a priest?
Well, I will piggyback a little bit on what Paul said, because together with that concept of having your feet moving all the time, try to have the mentality of what can I give, not what can I get. Yeah. That if you're going to be bettering yourself as a person, your mentality is necessarily going to need to be, what can I do to better society? What can I do to help my fellow man? And if you find that you are motivated that way, you do have those thoughts, well, maybe that's enough to catapult you into what could be a religious vocation, because that is what a religious and primarily a priest does, that we devote our entire life to bettering other people's lives. And also, in connection with having a guidance counselor, talk to a priest, have a spiritual director, somebody who does know you and can help motivate you and help you to ask the right questions. Of course, pray, but don't count it out. I think that it's too often something that people just don't even consider. Well, it's not for me because I like girls, or for girls I like boys, or really basic questions here where it's like, no. There are a million reasons to not do something courageous. And that's not just the religious life that I'm talking about. That's life in general. That you're going to have excuse after excuse. And the devil and maybe sometimes other cowardly people are going to throw excuses in your way while you know you hear a lot of things like that, like you need to take care of yourself. There's a lot to that, where it's like, okay, yeah, you need to take care of yourself, but how often is that used as an excuse of, well, okay, no, don't get out there and do something courageous and have other people in mind, so anyway, yeah, kind of rambling on a bit, but I would just say try to shift your mentality to that of bettering the human race, helping helping people to know God, to have an idea of what their final goal is, etc. And pursue it. Just see it. Dominic tried, gave it an honest try, and found out that wasn't God's will for him. But
Well,
Dominic, I think you would have to say
I like
it was
that.
not lost time, right?
What's that?
You would say, and Kevin did too. That wasn't lost time.
Oh no,
well,
yeah,
it's like
I
at
was
least
gonna interject.
and
I was going to interject real quick and say that the worst, if you go into the religious life with a good, good intentions, the worst possible thing that can come out of it is a better Catholic education and a deeper spiritual life. That's like worst case scenario. So if you have the right intention. So having tried, my advice would be, if there's any inkling at all, give it a shot. Give it a week, give it 2 weeks, give it, a year, whatever. But at least give it an honest shot. And best case scenario, you end up doing God's will, whatever it may be.
Well, I think
right. And that's kind of what
keep your feet moving. Sorry, Father. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, and that's what I was getting at, is just like, it's obviously not meant for everybody. But if you are just on a fundamental level trying to be the best person that you can be, you will be led in the right direction. Whatever route God wants to take you, whether that's the religious life, whether it's the military, whether it's higher education or the trades. Just genuinely trying to be your best self. And that sounds a little bit coy, but it's absolutely true. Like, just don't stop moving your feet. Do the best that you can do at every moment. And you're not going to have to worry about, those huge decisions, in a sense. Like I said, how are you going to know 100% if you're supposed to be a priest, if you're supposed to be what exactly, especially if we're talking to young people here? You can't know. You just have to try. You have to give it your best shot and try your best. So,
and speaking for myself, again, from my own errors, when you're in it, especially I had probably some personalities, if you're in it, it's easy to think at the time where it's like, I'm young, I've got time, it's not a big deal. What's a year? What's 2 years? It's not a big deal. And at the time, you don't really even notice. It's like, yeah, I'm just kind of, I'm wasting time, but it's okay. I'm watching movies all day long, whatever. I can tell you, you get to be 36 and you dreadfully regret, terribly regret the time wasted, and probably more when you're 90, right? The older you get, the more you're gonna be like, why did I had those 2 years where I did nothing, and I could have done something, maybe I'd have more babies, who knows what it is, but that's a tragedy of my life, which I hope everyone watching, if you're 18, 15, 25, whatever it is, it's so true to don't settle. Don't feel comfortable. Don't feel good in mom's basement. Sometimes you have to live in mom's basement. That's fine, but make sure you're working. Make sure if you're working at McDonald's, that do it and keep moving forward. Do something, and I just can't recommend that enough, because I wasted years of my life, and it hurts. It like physically hurts me now, where it's like I shouldn't have done that, and it's gone. The time is gone. God only gives you a certain amount, and it's never coming back. So don't waste it. Dominic, I guess we'll go to you. What is the advice you would give, again, the overall advice for young people and someone who may be interested in going to the trades?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I'd tell pretty much anybody, just and purely on the financial realm, that we're going into the next 10 to 20 years of more people retiring out of the blue collar trades than are coming in. And that's been the case for a while now. And industry is not exactly slowing down. So the need for the tradesmen is really I already see it in Omaha that people are looking for people to work, and there's not a whole bunch of them out there. So they are willing to pay you. And it's a kind of probably in the next 40 years, you're going to have a master electrician getting paid $100 an hour because no one else is willing to do it, or there's not the experience out there to be able to, teach the younger tradesmen. So getting in now is a really financially smart thing to do. And school's paid for. It's, it is a trade. That's kind of where the term comes from, that you're trading your lesser pay as you are working up your experience for the benefits of being taught what you're doing. So you're getting paid to go through school, as opposed to college, which, I mean, obviously we need doctors, we need nurses, we need, there's a place for college out there 100%, but right now it's looking good for tradesmen, and I think it's only going up. And that's kind of my 5-cent spiel on just the trades. As an electrician, I'd say if you have the smarts to do it, because it's a lot more mental work, less physical work. You have a lot of plumbers, tinners, iron workers that by the time they're 50, their backs are gone, their knees are shot, and you're trading your health for money, which is not always great. But I mean, you got to do what you got to do to survive financially in this world. And I guess my best advice would be that your vocation, I guess if you're going to be married, you're going to have children, your vocation is to be able to support that family. And the trades are a great advocation to be able to make that happen. And it's also very rewarding. And just being able to say, hey, I just built that. Or, yeah, you see those 3 buildings over there? Yeah, I wired in all that stuff. That's the reason that those lights are burning is because of me. Like
I walked into
very
a restaurant.
rewarding.
I walked into a restaurant with Omar in Denver somewhere. I forget where. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I did that." Pointing at the ceiling.
Yep.
Like, yeah, see that? I laid that. Well, that was pretty cool. I can totally
cool.
see how that would be.
It's
that
rewarding.
Would be really rewarding. Well, nice.
And
well, guys,
I'd also real quick just to finish my spiel. I was going to jump off of what Father was saying about vocations, etc. That no matter what you're doing, always keep praying for your vocation. So that's not something that's like, oh, I'm an electrician, this is my vocation, and I have a family, this is my. No, you keep praying for God's direction in whatever you're doing. So kind of that same mentality, you've got to keep your feet going, keep going, and asking God,
all you guys,
protection, and asking God to help direct your path. Because God's
all you guys have kids, and all you guys with kids know that you can't stay still a moment. They're always pushing boundaries and changing themselves, and they're growing up and turn from little kids to teenagers. And so, yeah, I think, Dominic, that's a good point. You got to keep on it.
Yeah. Yep. Oh yeah, Dominic, we got a question. Finally, a relevant question.
Hey, you got an actual question.
Is 35 too old to go to electrician apprentice? Drive semi-truck, have little experience handy-wise, but I am capable from that.
I was just working with a guy, can't remember his last Chris, but he is 55 years old, and he went through the Army and was a dental hygienist for 30 years. And he came over to become an electrician at 55, and that dude is awesome. he is so good, and I think he's recognized for being that good, and he's getting paid a lot more than a typical, second year, third year apprentice would be. But my advice to that would be like, if you have the ability to and can look, say 4-year apprenticeship by year 5, is that going to be a better lifestyle for you than say a truck driver, or have a higher ceiling for you want to be a controls specialist and getting paid, $70 an hour? That avenue is there for as long as you're, willing to try it.
Interesting. Nice. Well, if anyone else has any questions, now's the time to get them. We appreciate the comment section. Very interesting, very interesting comments today. Father Geckel, thanks for being here. As always, we appreciate you. Yeah, I guess I don't know if anyone has any last words. I guess we'll go around. If you don't have last words, that's fine. But Paul, we'll start with you. Anything we missed? Anything you want to say? If not, no big deal.
No, great. We should do this more often, even if it's not recorded. We should do it more often, guys. Yeah,
that's totally true. Yeah, no, it really is. It's funny how, it's life goes. You get your own lives, right? You have your own families. You're doing your own things, and you look up, and it's 6 months since the last time you talked to your brothers or your family. It really is. There's an advice. Keep in touch with people. That's a
call your mother.
A good point. Call your mother. Yeah, that is absolutely true. Okay, Father. Any last? Or do go ahead, Paul. Yeah.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I was in Havana, Cuba, and I had a Marine. So at the end of my inspections, I'd always ask them if they had any questions. One very gutsy Marine decided to ask, "Sir, is there anything you would do differently with your life?" I'm like, wow, you really went for that one, didn't you? So I gave him 3 things, and I said, yeah. Actually, I would listen more and talk less. I would talk to my family more often, and I would invest sooner. So those were the 3 things, some practical things to give, I guess, anyone.
Yeah, no, I like it. Nice. Okay, Father, any last words? If not, again, no problem.
Just to maybe reiterate what you said. St. Alphonsus actually says this, that the most precious commodity that we have as human beings is time. So use your time well. Don't wait for other people to make your path for you. Make your own path. Pray often, ask for God's guidance, and get to work. Use your time.
Dominic, last words?
Yeah, sure. I'm really proud of our family. Like, seriously.
We all have different paths.
A lot of different paths. And it's like, Kathy, Michelle, Sister Antonia, Sister Evangeline. It's kind of awesome how everyone's sort of taken these different paths, but every single person has been successful and very successful to a degree. And it's just awesome. I just have to thank our parents, obviously, that setting up the culture to be able to, be successful, and also how much I want to pass that down to the next generation. But that's pretty much it.
And that's that would be my last words too, is that I saw communists commenting, saying how we need Catholics to be leaders, and to be politically active. I mean, that's I guess a little debatable, but absolutely to be the light of the world. And I think all of us were there when Father Anaya had a talk at a boys camp years ago, and it's still one that I don't remember the whole sermon, the whole talk, but that it was the theme of the boys camp, I think, was to be the light of the world. And that stuck with me for, what is it now, 20 years. And that's I think really, maybe people don't look to us, but they should, right? I mean, and that we should be the ones who are leading in everything, right? And we should be the ones who are not overly ambitious, not driving ourselves to only want money and stuff, but we should try to make a really good life so that we can take care of those who don't, right? That's kind of part of the point, right? Those who have should give to those who have not. So I think ambition is certainly I think Paul and I did a show about that at one point. I think that was with Paul, or was that with somebody else?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think we talked about ambition. I think it can go overboard, obviously, but it's a really important thing. And money in itself, if it's used correctly, is not obviously evil. And I think that, yeah, I mean, we need to build, and I think it's a beautiful thing that you see throughout the U.S. and even here in Germany. Our little parish grows and grows and grows. You see tons of babies and tons of children, and I think that's the key that we can really help build and help save our country. I love what Paul said earlier about patriotism. I mean, especially going in the military, to actually do something. Do it. Don't just. And I do it. I do it all the time, right? I mean, I'm going to talk about what Americans should do, and I think that's a really good point. To not just talk, but do. Go and do something. Go and do something to show your value to your country, to your town, to your family. I mean, and don't just sit online and say how bad everything is. Go and fix it. If it's bad, go and fix it. And I think that's certainly a lesson for myself, and for everyone else as well. So I guess that will wrap it up, guys. I really appreciate it. That was fun. As Paul said, that was watched it, enjoyed it as well. Please leave a comment for those who are not watching. Let us know what is your job, your vocation. What are you questioning it? Do you want to perhaps become an electrician at 35 years old? I'd be really curious to see. And maybe if you guys have any questions for any of the people here, you can email me at kevin89davis@gmail.com, and I'll send it to them. And if they have time, or if they want to, they can write you back and give you some advice, or you can leave a comment and we'll try to do it that way. Like, share, subscribe, all of that stuff. And well, we hope to see you guys again soon. I think we'll be doing a show, by the way, for whoever's interested. We're going to do a show with a naturopath and a psychologist coming up on Friday. It's going to be pretty interesting. I don't really know what to expect. Yeah, so stick around for that. That'll be Friday at, I think, the same time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, as always, more to come on Catholic Family Podcast. Until then, God bless you all.